God is good, and today guys I want to talk a little bit about Final Fantasy VII, the remake. And here's the deal, so lately I decided, let me go back and replay the original Final Fantasy VII because I want to have it fresh in my memory before the launch of the remake, exactly how the story went down, because there's going to be a lot of changes. Of course, they're expanding the story in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I want to remember the way that it used to be because I haven't played the game in its entirety in many years. So Final Fantasy VII, as most of you know, it released over 20 years ago in 1997, I believe, and on the Sony PlayStation, and we're getting a complete rebuild of that game from the ground up. So this isn't even a simple remake, this is a complete reimagining, because they're going to do it in episodic sections. So we're not even going to, unfortunately, get to play the entire game at launch of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which for now, at the time of this recording, is set for April 10th, 2020. So we're coming up close on that day, a little bit over a month away. So I wanted to make this video because, and I just want to talk about some of the stuff that we do know and how massive is it going to be. I mean, the entire episode that we're getting here in April, it appears, is going to take place in Midgar. So basically, it's kind of like the first disc of Final Fantasy VII, but they claim it's going to be a full game. So in other words, 40 to 50 hours of gameplay, except for it's all in Midgar. So that would normally be somewhere around 7 to 10 hours, that section of the game. And I just went all the way through it. I'm past that part. I'm out in the open world now in my playthrough of Final Fantasy VII, and it's been a long time since I played it, and it took me right at about 7.5 hours, and that's with doing a lot of side stuff and honestly not rushing. The other interesting thing about the remake is that Square Enix at one point said they expect the first chapter, which we're getting in April, of the Final Fantasy VII Remake to fill 2 Blu-ray discs, which is insane. That's a rare feat. I mean, that's crazy. Most games or movies, I mean, there's not a lot of that happening because Blu-rays do hold quite a bit of data. And here's what we know about it so far. So the remake focuses entirely in the city of Midgar. Cloud is working for Avalanche, and they're blowing up the reactors, right? That's basically what's happening in Midgar during this portion of the story. You've got Barrett, who is Avalanche's leader, and who is determined to save the planet because they're basically starving the planet of Mako energy, and so he's after Shinra, the company who's basically providing electricity and things using the Mako energy from the planet. Cloud meets Eris, or Aerith, depending on what version of the game you played, and she has a interesting connection to the planet's life force. Cloud gets involved in all of the drama and missions involved with Avalanche. This remake is not turn-based. It's going to allow you to run around and attack freely. However, it does have a menu bar that you use to kind of navigate. So you'll be able to run around and, you know, do your attacks freely instead of standing in spot and picking exactly what you do. And basically, it does still have an action meter. When it fills, you can use magic or other special abilities. And then kind of like something like Fallout, you can trigger at certain points to slow things down and to actually, you know, use more of a turn-based system. You can switch between characters on the fly during your battles so that you can, you know, use specific abilities that characters may have, like you may need to switch over to Eris to throw out a heal, to Barrett because his limit break's ready, etc. But they do fight on their own without you, but you can switch over to them on the fly in order to do individual moves. Each character in the party has their own unique style and their own skills and their own magic spells, such as Tifa being a monk type using martial arts. You have Eris, or Aerith, who has a wide range of magic spells, and of course she's the main healer. You have Cloud. Now when Cloud builds up enough power, basically they get that power from being hit or doing attacks. They actually build up their limit break, which unleashes special attacks that typically do really good damage. Of course, Eris, or Aerith, actually does a healing spell that heals everybody really well during her limit break, so it depends on the specific skill of the individual character as to what their limit break does. Materia is basically a way that you can customize abilities and allow different characters to do different magic, or it's the system that you equip to your equipment in order to level it up and get better, higher abilities in magic, etc. Basically, the materia system is your customization for your abilities, for the ability system. We all should probably know at this point that the story has a villain that is world-renowned, Sephiroth, who does seem to know quite a bit of secrets about Cloud. I would even go as far to say as he knows more about Cloud in many cases than Cloud even knows about Cloud. And of course, it's going to release specifically on the PlayStation 4 on April 10th, 2020, although I could see a definite PC release later on, probably roughly about a year after launch. We'll probably get a PC release, hopefully before that, but typically the way they've been doing things like with Final Fantasy XV, etc., typically about a year later they release the PC, and it's generally most likely going to have better graphics, etc. And being that this is Final Fantasy VII and this is Square Enix, I could definitely see that over time an Xbox One release, and I'm sure they'll also re-release using probably the PC version, probably re-release them on the PS5 and the Xbox X series or whatever the heck it's called when those systems launch later this year. And that's all the information we know about Final Fantasy VII. That's the basic breakdown of all the information we have so far. It leaves a few questions to the mind though. And the main question that I think of is there's a lot of extra story and backstory to the characters, some of the side characters, the members of Avalanche, as well as the main cast that I think we're going to explore in more detail and find out more about the story than we knew before. And the really cool part about that is that Final Fantasy VII wasn't just a standalone game. It was created originally to be a standalone game, and that was going to be it, just like most Final Fantasies. However, it was so popular and there was such a demand to know more and more that there were movies and books and all kinds of different media that went and explored the game a lot further. So number one, I wonder, since it is a rebuild and is a remake, are we trashing all of the old lore, or is Square Enix going to continue with that same lore and keep everything the way that we know it today? If you've seen all the movies and extra spin-off games and all that kind of stuff, then will it all fit in neatly with that original lore, or are we actually starting from scratch and going to rebuild this story entirely? So that's going to be interesting to see. I really look forward to playing this game. This is definitely a big hype for me, because let's face it, Final Fantasy VII is an important game for a lot of people out there. It was their first real RPG, or it was the first 3D RPG, or however you want to look at it. And by 3D, of course, I mean polygons and a lot of the backgrounds of the overworld. There's a lot of 3D. Of course, there's a lot of backdrops as you're exploring in the original, as you can see from the video that I've included. But simply put, what I'm saying here is that the original Final Fantasy VII first disc, Midgar, which I'm assuming that would be a pretty good, I think, stopping point for the first episode, being that was the first disc. It only took 7 hours, 8 hours to beat that. And now we're getting a full game of that. So there's going to be a lot of additional content, a lot of extra side missions, etc. It also begs the question, how far along are they in development of the second episode? How long do we have to wait for that? Because if they wait too long, then obviously the anticipation level, etc. will die out. And when you do episodes, it is historically known that as the episodes go on, less and less people buy it. Because you got people who didn't even beat the first episode who are very unlikely to buy the second episode. Also, does it just carry over your levels? Is there a level cap? Will there be a point where you cannot go any further? In other words, will it cap you out at, I'm making this up, but level 30, and that's it? Or will you be able to go all the way and grind it out to level 99, and then when episode 2 launches, you'll be OP? These are questions that I worry about the game, because I don't want to see the game do a system where you have to start over every episode, and that way if you haven't played episode 1, you can just dive in on episode 2, which I could see them doing for sales, right? It's all about making money at the end of the day, and to keep people purchasing the new episodes, is that how they're going to do it? Are the episodes going to be more like DLC or individual game discs? I believe they'll do individual game discs. I feel like would be the smartest move to increase revenue and sales. However, it would be nice if they were just DLC and that kind of thing. But we'll have to see how they release the new episodes and how they manage that from a perspective of what carries over into the next episode. Because this game is so good, I just want it to carry over what you do. So I would personally be happy with a system where they have a level cap on the first episode, and that way you can't be too overpowered going into episode 2 and episode 3, and I'm assuming this will probably be around 3, maybe 4 max episodes, and I'm pretty sure they basically soft confirmed that it's going to be 3, which matches with the number of discs that were available in the original game. And each disc had a fairly good ending point, cliffhanger, but not too bad. You got a lot of answers in between each disc, but enough to make you want to see more and know what happens next. The good news is that we will not have to wait long, as it is launching at the time of this recording a little bit over a month from now. So that's good news, as long as it doesn't get delayed, and I kind of doubt it will at this point. Pretty sure the game is ready to go. But guys, what do you think about Final Fantasy VII? What are your theories? How do you think they're going to do the episodes? How do you think they're going to do the leveling so you're not overpowered? Do you think they'll even care about that? What do you think is going to happen? Are you excited about this game? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. We'll be streaming this game in its entirety after launch. And guys, until next time, God bless and happy gaming.
Listen to what I say. I've been making videos all day. My friends all say I'm it's a video buffet. You can even hit replay. But please just subscribe. I can't even describe being part of my tribe. I'll even offer you a prize, but please just subscribe and hit the bell notification too.